Greetings Exiles, BullShifter here. Today I just wanted to make a video that I thought could kind of help out the community in general. We've had quite a few discussions lately about the marketplace and some of the overpriced items and kind of the difficulty towards progression due to people having a harder time finding specific items that may help them out with their build. So today I wanted to make a video that's going to kind of show you I guess some ways to find substitutes for your items. At this point, this is the character I've been streaming with. We just finished Act 5, which is actually where we're at right now, is the hub for Act 5. And going into Act 6, it's a little more important for us to have a little better gear, since we're taking a 30% penalty to all of our resists. Now, as you can see currently, that's kind of a big deal, because while our fire resist is great, our cold and lightning are terrible, to the point where we basically don't have any resists at all. Now, a lot of this has to do with the fact that through the first, almost 4 or 5 acts, you can usually get by just having a decent amount of life, some halfway decent resists, which obviously if we weren't suffering that 30% penalty, our resists would be quite a bit higher. And as long as you have decent mid range resists, enough life, and enough linked gems, you can typically get past the first 5 acts. The last 5 acts is when it gets a bit more difficult and when you actually want to start gearing towards things. Now, because of the fact that our focus was a bit on making sure we had the proper sockets throughout the first 5 acts, some of our items, like this shield right here, this is awful. This is a terrible shield. It is adding to our max life, which is a nice stat to have. It's only giving us 10 lightning resists, and it's only a magic item. We don't even have a rare item in this slot. Another item that could use some improvement are our boots. It does have 10% increased movement speed and 22 fire resist. However, as you can see over here on the right, we have 83 fire resist right now. If we sacrifice 22 fire resist to get some more cold or lightning, and maybe even possibly get some fire resist just in a smaller amount for now, we're going to be fine. Plus 10 to max energy shield. It's kind of nice because it adds to that percentage, but we're only rocking 274 energy shield right now. It's really not a big deal. And evasion rating, we're not even really using evasion with this build. So these boots have essentially been there just to give us a little bit of increased movement speed. So it's time for us to upgrade those, time to upgrade our shield. There's other items that we could upgrade as well. We can definitely get a better weapon here. This is basically just meant for the increased movement speed to give us a bit more life and to give us a bit more life leeching when we kill things. Honestly, all of our gear here in general, aside from these gloves, which I like for a specific reason, they give us power frenzy and endurance charges on kill, or a chance to. The reason why that's nice with a summoner build is the fact that all of your charges also apply to your minions. So that's kind of why I've been sticking with this one, and I just kind of have, a few gems that we're not going to put anything on Holy Relic, we're not going to put anything on Stone Golem. We're only really using Flame Dash right now because we just haven't equipped a shield charge gem. So we'll probably keep the gloves for now, but we could definitely do with a boot upgrade and a shield upgrade. We could definitely, if not completely upgrade our body armor, we could at least enhance it a little bit, put another stat on there. Our belt is okay, but it could also use some help. Our helmet, it's within about 15 levels or so of our actual level, so it could be worse. So some of these we don't necessarily have to upgrade right away, and we can kind of take our time going through the next chapter and looting some items. But for now, like these boots and this shield especially, I want to get an upgrade before we even start Chapter 6, just to give me a better chance at survival. Mostly focusing on a bit more cold and lightning resist, so we're not just getting completely eaten up by those two elements. So I'm going to kind of show you guys how to do just some basic crafting to make yourself some decent items. So if you can't necessarily afford that expensive unique on the auction block, you can hopefully craft something that's at least comparable, or at least something that'll service you for now. There aren't too many builds that you absolutely need a specific unique in order for the build to work. That possibly is true for, later tiers of maps. But when it comes through going through the first 10 chapters of the game, you can absolutely make it through the first 10 chapters of the game without buying anything on the marketplace. You can do it strictly by crafting with the currency that you find in game, as long as you kind of have an idea of what you're doing. So what we'll start off doing is we're going to go to the NPC over here.
Interesting times, all right.
And we're just going to buy a shield and some boots off of him to craft off of. We're going to pick up a base from him. Now, normally you would probably be better off just going through levels and killing some enemies, looting some gold items, using some scrolls of wisdom on them, and just kind of looking through the stats on items that you want to replace, and essentially just waiting for a better item. At this point, you should have enough currency to where you can actually go ahead and reroll some sockets and some links, so those won't be as big of a deal, so you can just find better stats and then fix your sockets after you have the stats that you want. And ideally, you want to be able to keep an item for about 10 to 15. Maybe you can stretch it out 20 levels if the affixes are really good, but you're talking finding a really good item at that point. So basically what I'm saying is, once you get to that mid-game range, and maybe you need to do it a chapter or two before this to get past Kitava, it's a little easier with the summoner because of the fact that we can kind of move around, let our minions do a lot of the work for us, and we can kind of supplement a lot of stuff within our actual we come out of here, if we go through our passive tree, we can actually get a lot of damage through here for our minions because there are so many minion damage nodes and there are a ton of life nodes for us to be able to stack up, at least like that 1500 health range that you want to have to get through the first 5 acts. So a lot of our damage as a summoner is actually coming through this tree. Now, there are a lot of good ways to get damage through this tree, but if you're doing elemental damage or physical damage, a lot of this is percentage based. So you want to have a good base stat on your items because that percentage is an increase off of that base stat. So let's go ahead and look at this item here. Say I was doing physical damage with this character. So it's doing 24 to 44 physical damage, straight damage. Now, just for simplification's sake, let's say that's my base damage. When you pick up one of those nodes in the passive tree, say it's 10% increased physical damage, it's going to take 10% of that 24 to 44 per strike and add that 10% on for each 10% node that I have. So you'll have base stats, which will all add together, they're additive, but then your actual percentages are a multiple of that additive that are multiplied by that percentage and then added to that number. So and critical works the same way. So the critical strike chance with this is 5%. So if I pick up a node that says 100% chance a critical strike increase, that doesn't mean I'm going to crit 100% of the time. That means 100% of that critical strike chance is being added. So 5% is going to be added to 5%, and it's going to be 10%. So that's kind of the best way for me to really simplify that. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and we're going to buy a couple items from him, and I'm going to show you kind of how to build off of these bases. Like I said, normally you're going to be better off finding some items, out there in the world. Maybe like a white item that has like some really good links that you can just go ahead and probably this early on you'll likely be using alchemy orbs or essences to turn it directly from a normal item to a rare item. Just because in order to turn it from a magic item to a rare item, you're going to need a regal orb, and regal orbs are way too rare for you to be spending a mid-game. So you kind of want to do what a lot of people refer to as YOLO elking, which means using an orb of alchemy and essentially just hoping for the best. So that's one of your options when you're looking for items in the wild. The better option, though, is probably just to find some really good rare items, so yellow items that are out there with good affixes, and then fixing your sockets from there. So in this case, I'm just going to show you how to do it this way with just white items. So we'll pick up these slippers. Now the reason I'm going to pick up these slippers is because I'm trying to stack a little bit more energy shield with this character. I want that to be essentially my secondary health, because it's going to take away from your energy shield before your health, except for in the case of chaos damage, which goes beyond your shield. It ignores your shield and starts tacking away at your health right away. But chaos damage isn't as common to run into, especially in this point of the game. So we're going to grab these even though they only have one socket. And the other reason why we're going to grab those, we're using a blue and a red gem in these boots currently. So we only need to make sure that we get one more link socket and we can roll it to a red. Now, since this is an energy shield item, blue sockets are going to be more common on this item. Now, we could just grab this one, which has evasion and energy shield, but I don't really have the desire to build up a lot of evasion on this. And this is going to give me pretty much twice as much energy shield, so that evasion is kind of a wasted stat at this point. I would rather get another socket on here and try and re-roll it to a red. So I'll pick up those, and the other thing we were going to upgrade was our shield. And this is a perfect shield for us because it's strictly adding energy shield as well. And we currently have 3 blue sockets connected on this one. So all we need to do is get another blue. And again, energy shield, blue sockets are more common, so it's going to be easier for us to roll that on this item. So we'll go ahead and purchase that. And those are the 2 items that we're going to upgrade. Now, the way that we're going to start doing this is first, in order for me to have a higher potential to have more sockets and more links, it's important for me to increase the quality of these items. Now the way to do that is through armor scrap for armor. Now unfortunately I only have 25 right now, and I don't really want to dip into, my other items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use it on the shield. Now the reason for that is I need 2 connections. Technically I need 3 gems connected with 2 connections, as opposed to my gloves here, my boots, which I only technically need those 2 linked items for now. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade the shield, and then upgrade the slippers. Oh, that's right. We only need 4 actually because they're white items. White items will cost less of these to upgrade than a yellow item would. So if this would have been yellow, we would have needed 20 of those because the quality would have only increased by 1. But since it's a white, it increases by 5 every time. So this is actually one of the benefits of increasing a white item over increasing a yellow. But later on, you're going to have so much armor scrap that you're not really going to miss it. So now that we have it upgraded all the way, we need to re-roll sockets on each one of these because we need more for both of them. We need at least 2 on the boots. We need at least 3 on the shield. So in order to do that, we're going to need jeweler's orbs. However, as you can see, we've only got 1 right now. Now that kind of sucks, but we can go to the vendor over here. I believe Lonnie is the one who has them. Go to purchase items. She sells orbs of jeweler's orbs for only 2 orbs of alteration. So we can go ahead and purchase some of these that we'll need. It takes them from them alternately. That's kind of funny. So I'm hoping 6 will be enough. I'm feeling lucky. So let's go ahead, hit X, and we can hit square to repeat apply, which means it'll let us just continue to hit square. If we hit X, we'll have to actually go back to the jeweler's orb again, select it again, and place it over there a second time. So this will just make it a little quicker. So we got 3 right off the bat, and that's actually the maximum amount that you can have for a one-handed weapon or a shield, or a one-handed shield. So we're all good there. 1 did the trick for us, so that's awesome. Now for the boots. 3. We only needed 2, and we needed them connected. So even though I can roll 4 on this, for now, it has what I need. I'm not going to press my luck. We're going to stick with it, especially because I already have a connection there. So that is perfect. So I actually don't even need to use an orb of fusing on that one. Now, an orb of fusing up here is going to reforge the links between the sockets on the item. Now, improving the quality of our items also increased our odds of us being able to link those orbs. So on this shield, this may take a few tries because we need to link all 3 of those. There's 2, 3, 4. We're not getting very lucky here. There we go. So it took a few of them, but we got the job done. So now we actually already have the right color sockets, and we have the links. So at this point, we just need to craft onto this item. Now for this item, we have a blue and a green. And to support our current gems, we need a blue and a red. So what we're going to do is we're going to use one of our chromatic orbs, which is going to randomly reforge the color of sockets on an item. Now remember, since this is strictly an intelligence-based item, it gives only energy shield. We have a higher probability of rolling blues than any other color. So we just need to get lucky and have one of those 2 linked ones form into a red. So all blue, and there we go, a blue and a red. Now as you saw, it was for the most part rolling blues, and that is again because of the fact that it's an intelligence-based item. It has energy shield. That's always going to equal you having a higher probability of rolling blues. It's just something important to keep in mind. Blue represents energy shield and intelligence. Red will represent armor and strength, and green will represent evasion and dexterity. So those are always tied together. So now we have our items, we have the right colored sockets, and we have the correct links. So at this point, we're looking to put some affixes on those items. Now, unfortunately, right now, we're kind of limited on how many orbs of alchemy we have, and I'm not quite sure. I don't remember if Lonnie was selling any or not. I don't believe so. No, she is not, and I don't believe there are many vendors, if any vendors, who actually... Oh, no, she is actually. But it's for an Orb of Regret, which is kind of unfortunate. That's a pretty high price to pay. So let's just kind of hope we get lucky here. I'm feeling lucky. So we'll use an Orb of Alchemy. Use it on our shield. So it's giving us a +2 intelligence, which intelligence also gives us energy shield. That's a good stat to have. It gives us a bonus to our max energy shield. Also nice. +19 to our life. That's great. We need that also. +24 to our maximum mana. That's also nice. +14 to our cold resistance. Not the greatest, but it's something that we did need. And the increased stun and block recovery, not a huge deal for our build, but still not terrible to have. So you can actually, if you click the left stick in and you have the show extra stats turned on in your options, you can even see which tiers that you've rolled. So we didn't roll anything fantastic, but as you can see, what we have here is definitely better than what we've got going on. We're going to lose a little bit of life, and we're trading cold resistance for lightning resistance. But overall, it is a better item. It's giving us a lot more energy shield, a little bit more chance to block, and the item level is also higher, so it has a higher probability, if we ever do decide to roll this again, to get higher tiered stats. So let's go ahead and do the same for our boots over here. So a big boost to our maximum energy shield, more intelligence, some lightning resist, and some movement speed. So we're actually not going to lose our movement speed. So let's compare that to what we currently have. So it's a lot more energy shield, same amount of movement speed. We don't care about evasion. We actually lost 1 lightning resistance. We're going to lose fire resistance as well. But it's not really a huge deal because of the fact that we could actually afford to lose a little bit of fire resists. Now, you'll see that I only have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes on this item. And I've got 2 prefixes and 3 suffixes on this item. So what that means is we can actually also do a little bit of master crafting on these items. So I'm going to go back to my hideout, and we're going to go to our crafting bench. Now, throughout the game, you're going to run into these random crafting benches throughout the world, and when you hit X when you're near them, you'll learn a new crafting recipe. There's other ways. You can also learn crafting recipes, as you've probably learned if you've watched some of my videos about the different past League content that's been incorporated into the game, and those come here as well. So right now, Since we have an open prefix, which what that means is on a rare item, we only have 2 prefixes. You can have a maximum of 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. So we can actually craft a prefix modifier onto this item. Now, it's not going to let us select mana because of the fact that we already have a plus to mana on that item itself. So we can add life, we can add armor, evasion, energy shield, armor and evasion, evasion and energy shield, and armor during soul gain prevention. So what I think we'll end up going with, let's go ahead and add some flat life to the item. We'll go ahead and take that. Oh, that was not smart actually, because now it requires level 60. So, that's because we had a level. So, since this is in the same league as my Templar, it's actually going to move over all of the crafting recipes I have on my Templar as well. I kind of didn't think about that one. So what we're going to do here, if we hit X, it'll show us the lower levels of this we can do also, which I believe if we did 2, that would be a high enough, we'd be high enough level for that. Unfortunately, we're going to have to waste an Orb of Regret to do this, but we're going to want to do this to actually stick to my rule about not using any of the stuff from my Templar here. So this will actually, a level 2 max life is probably about the crafting recipe we would have for this character right now. So we'll do that, and yep, requires level 35. So now that's well within our level requirements. Sucks I wasted some of the Orbs of Alchemy that I probably had in my stash for my Templar, but I've got plenty over there, so it's not a big deal. We'll just have to make sure I've got the right amount. I should still have 1 for my Witch. It might have taken that one, but that's fine. We're not worried. We'll find more. So now with the boots, since I have an open prefix and an open suffix, I actually have the option to craft either one. Now, let me show you real quick what happens if you have full suffixes on here. It's just going to have them all read it out, and it's going to tell you right out the gate, this item already has a mod of this type, which means you're full up on your suffixes. You can't put a 4th suffix modifier on here. So let's put our boots in here. And right now, the best idea would probably be to add some cold resist to our boots. And I just accidentally, I meant to hit X to go down here. That's fine. What did it roll out to? 32 cold resist. So it's a little higher than we would have technically been able to get. So technically cheated a little bit on that one by my mistake, but it's only an extra couple of percent, so not a huge deal. So at this point, we've gone ahead and we've crafted 2 items for our build. So we're going to go ahead and unequip our current boots, move our gems over to these boots, equip those, and we'll equip our new shield. And then we'll take a look at our stats afterwards, and we'll see how much we've improved just by doing a little bit of pretty basic crafting on 2 items. And it did take our orbs, but that's fine. We'll earn more. I'll stash that away. I'll have to check the video later and see how many chaos orbs that we had. I thought we had 2 or 3, but so now if we go ahead and look at our character, so our lightning is actually a little worse for the wear, but our cold damage, we are much better off than we were before. So basically moving forward, what our goal is going to be is essentially going to be to find a replacement for one of these items, and technically level 39, we can probably use this for a little while. Has some fire resistance on it, has some life regen. Which reflects physical damage back, which is pretty nice, and the energy shield, it could be worse. So I think we'll actually unequip that. And we'll just go ahead and, since we have an open suffix on this item as well, we'll go ahead and just put some lightning resistance on there, and I'll make sure to actually select the right one this time. And this will actually make up for the 1 elk orb we should have still had left. So from here we can put our gems back in. Oops. Not where that was supposed to go. Re-equip that. And now if we look at our character, so we've gained about 200 and some energy shield. We've gained about another, not quite 100 life, but a little more life. And we've put our cold resistance in a much better place, much closer to the cap, and we've actually gained a little bit more lightning resistance than we started with as well. We took a little hit to our fire resist, but not enough for it to really be too significant. Now, considering the fact that we just finished Act 5 and it's expecting us to have, you know, that 30% penalty right out the gate heading into Act 6, we're actually not looking too bad for the journey. So that we're actually in a pretty decent starting spot. But we do know some things to look for. We can look for a new weapon. We can probably look for some new rings that have higher resists on them. For this build in particular, I'm going to want to focus essentially on resists, life, and energy shield. So those are going to be my three main forms of defense for this build. Aside from that, like I said, we probably keep the gloves because I like those charges showing up on my minions. That's super helpful. But these are just uniques that I randomly found in the game. None of this stuff was purchased from the trade market. This has all been just what we've been doing through the stream. So that's essentially kind of how you'll go ahead and try to upgrade your gear to fit the content of the game. Now, once you start to get to the higher tier maps, you should have a bit more currency, and at that point, if you do want to go to the trade market and, you know, buy that unique that you need, that'll be more realistic at that point. You'll probably have saved up some currency. This is kind of just to help you get through so you don't hit that wall in the game where you just get stuck and seem to be getting killed by everything. This will help so your progression doesn't stop. You can keep moving forward, and honestly, you can probably use this method to get through the first few tiers of maps also. So that's going to conclude the video for the day. I hope you guys find this super useful. As always, feel free to ask any questions down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer. But yeah, I hope you use this to your advantage, and this way you can kind of use the trade market more as needed as opposed to really relying on it early on. Stream will be up tonight at 8 p.m. as always, and until then, may the RNG be with you, always.